Well, for all you would-be car thieves out there, you might want to give this flick a watch before you actually go out tonight, because it might just actually change your mind. Hey guys, welcome to Happywax TV. So tonight we're talking about a movie called 4x4. It's not really a horror movie, not really a science fiction movie. You know, it's not something I normally tackle on this channel, but I'll tell you, I watched this movie and I had to quickly talk about it. It is definitely worth your time to watch. Man, I love this fucking movie. I'll tell you, I'll be honest. It was the poster that I first saw, and I was kind of curious, just, you know, the way they have the poster set up with the guy kind of screaming, and it kind of draws you into it. And then I watched the trailer, and I thought, okay, I'm curious to see if they can I was more curious to see if they could pull it off, because, I mean, you know, the majority of this movie takes place inside an SUV. And I was like, I don't know, man. It's going to take a lot, you know, to especially for a 90-minute movie to keep the flow going and the pace to make this movie work. But goddamn, they do. And I'll tell you, by the end of this movie, I thought it was fucking fantastic. I really did. It's Argentinian. I do not know anyone in this movie, including the director, but the director and writer are Mariano Cohen. And then, I mean, it's really only got one main star. Peter Lanzani. I've never seen or heard him before. He plays Ciro in this movie, and he's the thief in the movie. And then I believe his name is Daddy Briava. He plays Enrique Ferrari, and he is the owner of this vehicle that gets broken into by Ciro. So basically the first act, it starts off, Ciro is just simply breaking into this SUV that's parked on the side of the road. He goes in, you know, to steal the stereo. And I'll tell you, just that scene alone, it's amazing how fast they can pop a stereo into your fucking car. It's amazing. But anyways, you know, he goes to get back out of this vehicle and he can't. It locks down on him, and I mean, that's where our movie starts. The first act of this movie, it's a very physical movie too for our main character, because I mean, even just him trying to break out of this vehicle, I mean, fuck, I was getting tired just watching him. You know what I mean? Like trying to bust the windows and, you know, rip out the side of the door, the paneling and stuff to kind of bust through it, but he can't, because it's all souped up. We find throughout this movie that it's got like it's encased in bulletproof metal. The windows are bulletproof. You know, it's soundproof, stuff like that. So he's trapped inside of this and he cannot get out. So the first act is more or less just him trying to escape, panicking, the anxiety that he goes through, especially after he finds out that people can't hear or see him in this vehicle. There is, a little bit that you have to kind of forgive about this movie. Like I did say to myself, you know, in parts of this movie, it's almost unbelievable that people can't hear him yelling and screaming and, you know, banging against the glass and kicking the doors, because people are, you know, walking by this vehicle as it's happening, and you know, he's sitting on the inside of it screaming while this lady's looking looking into the mirrored windows, you know, fixing her makeup and stuff. And you kind of got to let stuff like that go. I mean, to make the movie work, if you can get past that point, you will really enjoy this flick. But man, the second act, you know, is kind of when we're introduced to this Enrique Ferrari, the owner of the vehicle, and he talks to him through the stereo, and he puts him through the gears, man. Like he tells him, you know, this was more of a trap to catch people, because throughout his life, not only him but his family have been terrorized by, you know, home invasion and carjacking and being robbed on the street. And again, I don't know everything, you know, what they were talking about in this movie, but it's in Argentina. And they do make, and this is the point of this movie, is the crime in places like this is, I guess, just outrageous. And the fact that, you know, maybe they feel the police don't do enough. And this is more of a movie where the citizens take the law into their own hand. Because in the second act, while he's trapped in the car, someone else tries to break into this car, and then they get attacked by the civilians who kind of capture him and wait for the police. But while they wait for the police to come, they just beat the shit out of this guy in the street, this second carjacker. And I think that's the point that they were trying to get across. Do you know what I mean? But just beyond that, though, this movie is fantastic. From the stages that this poor Ciro guy has to go through, from getting in to the anxiety, to the anger, to being upset, and then what he has to go through to survive in this car. Because the owner Enrique, like he'll crank the air conditioning so he's almost frozen to death, and then he'll turn the heat up. And then also, too, in the opening scene, or in the opening act there, Ciro tries to shoot the windows out, which he can't, and then in turn shoots his leg. So now he has to deal with his, this ever-growing wound in his leg and blood loss and infection and stuff like that. So, because he's not in this car for like one day. He is in this car for a while, like days and days and days. So much so that he has to end up drinking his own piss to survive. And he starts eating paper, like the manual of the vehicle itself. He goes through a lot, and it's funny too. And this is just good storytelling and directing, because you actually feel sorry for this guy, or at least I did. But then Enrique, kind of turns it personal, and he starts giving him Ciro's personal information, even so much so as going to his house and talking to his girlfriend and his kid, right? So that. You really start to feel sorry for him. But then when Enrique starts to say, because when he looks him up, his criminal record, because we do find out that Enrique is a doctor, and he probably has, privy to information that we can't get. But he does find out that Ciro is, like a professional thief, and he's killed people and stuff. So this guy that you're feeling sorry for in this vehicle, now all of a sudden you're doing like a total 360, saying, well, maybe this fucker deserves what he's getting. You know what I mean? So, and then we get into the third act, and I don't really want to touch on that too much. It's just, like I said, let it play out in front of you and make your own opinion. You can see in the trailer that he eventually gets out of the vehicle, but it's not, and again, I'm not giving spoilers because it's in the trailer, but stuff happens, okay, and he does get out of the vehicle, but then there's more confrontation. And then it's kind of like I said earlier on, where we find out in the second act, like this movie is kind of geared towards, the law and taking the law into your own hands. And is it, vigilantism? Is that like the proper way to go about it and stuff like that? So anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I am highly recommending this movie. Give it a watch. Again, the less you know about it, the more you will enjoy it. I thought it was great. I don't know if I said this earlier, but when I was watching this, I kind of had thoughts of this movie may have been a little bit inspired from the 2002 movie starring Colin Farrell called Phone Booth. It's kind of the same idea. There's other movies like that too, like Ryan Reynolds and Buried and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I'll tell you, I didn't have high hopes for this going into it. I more so watched it just to see if they could pull it off. But when it was done, I thought this movie was fantastic. To give it a rating, I'd probably give this one like a really strong 7.5. I did enjoy this flick. And again, it's not a horror movie. It's not a sci-fi movie. It's just a good fucking movie. And it really does deserve to be watched. So anyways, it's called 4x4. It's out now. I thought it was great. I know I didn't really get into, like, just before I end, what makes this movie great, not just the story itself, but the fact that it's shot inside this vehicle and the camera angles that they're able to pull off inside this vehicle. Now, I know they probably had 2 or 3 vehicles with windows taken out so they could get certain scenes, but just, I don't know, the claustrophobicness of this movie and how they pulled it off. I thought it was fucking fantastic. So anyways, I'm going to stop there. If you've seen this movie, please let me know what you thought of it. And if you haven't, definitely, by all means, I'm highly recommending it. Go rent this movie or buy it, and then come back and let me know what you thought about it, guys. And yeah, until next time, well, not necessarily stay scared, but stay the fuck out of other people's cars.